So we are here to discuss two programs and two certificates, the MA in Special Education, the MA in Reading, and then graduate certificates in Dyslexia and Applied Behavior Analysis. So here is our information session. We have three faculty members who are here today, and they will be joining, or they will be introducing themselves in just a moment. Here's our agenda. We're going to do some introductions, and then we're going to have a little bit of a poll about who's here, give you some overview of programs, but we have some amazing alumni and students here who have graciously given us their time to talk about their experiences. And then we have some question and answers. So some introductions for faculty. First of all, hi, my name is Stephanie Mahfood. I am the current interim dean of the School of Education. I'm also the director of field experience because apparently I get bored easily or I have trouble saying no to people. I'm a faculty member in the Department of Teacher Education, and I am a special education teacher by training and teach a lot of those courses. I'm going to kick it to who I'm seeing next to my screen. Renee, can you introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Renee Rockwell. I'm a lecturer and advisor in the Department of Teacher Education. I'm an alum. I am a special educator, also a reading specialist, and former administrator. All those degrees I got from Webster, and love Webster, love teaching at Webster, and welcome everyone.
And Paula.
Hi, I'm Paula. I'm a professor in both departments, the Graduate Department of Education and the Department of Teacher Education, I guess, because I can't say no either. Basically, because my big interest is reading. And so I teach a lot of the reading classes in both programs. I was a speech language pathologist and worked in the schools for a really long time. I don't want to say how long, and then came to Webster. And I'm the director of the MA in Reading and the Graduate Certificate in Dyslexia.
Thank you. And we have some amazing students who are here as well, and they're going to be introducing themselves in just a little bit. Before we go any further, now I'm going to try this. So we have a little poll for you to complete. And students, you can do this too, because it's nice to have your voice. And we do have one question that's a rather fun one. So I'm going to see if I can launch this. We'll give you, it's not long, so we'll give you about a minute or so to answer those questions. So as we move in to our program description, we're going to do something called a Give Me Five. Give Me Five is just a quick and kind of efficient way of giving you big five high-level pieces of information about the different programs. So when we see Give Me Five, each program will have the opportunity to share five big pieces about the program that makes it distinct. Then obviously our students and alumni are the most important piece of this event, so they will talk about their experiences and we'll have some time for question and answer. So, okay, so some high-level pieces about the School of Ed in general. You can see our vision and our mission, about empowering students and being a community of educators, scholars, providing excellent experiences that make a difference in the lives of learners. And I think as special educators and people who work with students with special learning needs, that's very important to us. But more important, this is a slide that is very close to my heart. And this is really kind of our philosophy of why we do what we do in the School of Ed, not just in these programs, but I think as a whole. So the first is we teach teachers about teaching by teaching. We have the most integrated meta job in the world. We cannot just talk to you about best practice in education. We actually have to model it and do it in our coursework and in the classes and learning experiences we design for our students. So if we can't just, for example, talk about co-teaching, we have to do it. We can't just talk about differentiation, we have to do it. We can't just talk about universal design for learning and how to reach all learners, we have to do it. And I think we take that very seriously. We also know that students learn to teach, teachers learn to teach in community with each other. Teaching is not something you learn to teach alone in a closet somewhere. It is something that is done in community with your professors, with your classmates, with your colleagues. And our coursework is designed to foster that community. And then we also empower our students to become advocates for the students and families they serve. And again, I'm mindful of the fact that we are talking about programs that connect to learners with special needs. You are being taught and developed to be not only teachers, but advocates for those students and families. All right, so now we're into the Give Me 5, and I'm going to kick us off with the Master, the MA in Special Education. So this is a program that is designed for students who already are teacher certified, right? They have a teacher certification in special education or elementary education or some other certification area, or they don't want to be certified. We also have an MAT in special education, which is our initial certification program. Karen's giving me the thumbs up because she was a completer of the MAT. I'm happy to talk about that at the end if people are interested in initial certification. But this is an advanced master's program designed to give more information and more experience in special learning needs and strategies to support students with special learning needs. It's 33 credits. It has 3 emphasis areas, so mild, moderate disabilities, specialized approaches for exceptional learners, and applied behavior analysis. My colleague Renee will tell you about that one in just a little bit. The specialized approaches is a new one, which is really designed for teachers in the field who are working with specific kinds of student populations and want to really have the flexibility to pick coursework that really is tailored to the populations and needs that they have in their classroom practice. So you'll see a variety of coursework that's being offered in that emphasis areas. Specialized approaches and applied behavior analysis are fully online. The mild moderate emphasis has some online components, but is on ground because of its connection to our initial certification program. It's not the initial certification program, but it pulls from those courses a little bit. It's definitely an emphasis on developmentally oriented theory and research, and designed to use best practice and research-based practice to design and promote interventions and instruction. I think our special education program has one of the best reputations in the St. Louis area. Our SPED teachers know what's what and come out very well prepared. I often get emails and texts from students saying like, I'm down the hallway from someone who has also gotten a special ed degree and I know 7,000 more things than that person. So thank you for doing that. I think we are also inclusionists, meaningful inclusion of students with disabilities into general education. That's part of our advocacy that we do, but please note the emphasis on meaningful inclusion, right? Inclusion takes planning and thought and systems change, and we're very deliberate about leaning into that. And then all of our students do an applied research project as a capstone, which again allows them to connect to their classroom practice or their school community and do some of that systematic advocacy work for their students and for their school or organizational settings. So that's the Give Me 5 for the special ed program. I'm going to now hand off to my colleague Renee, who's going to talk about applied behavior analysis.
Good morning, everyone, again. So the MA in SPED with an emphasis in applied behavior is certified by the BACB board. It is specifically for professionals working towards improving the quality of lives for those with autism, spectrum disorder, or other developmental disabilities. Most of the people who come into this program are wanting to work in schools and they're already teachers or they're counselors, or they want to work with in-home agencies or start their own business for in-home care for this population. They teach socially significant skills, as you see on the screen, and our instructors are people who are working as ABA therapists in the field. And there is a capstone course for the MA, and it's a 33 credit hour program, and it's fully online. And then as a part of our SPED program, we also have the Applied Behavior Analysis, what we call the AGC, which is an advanced graduate certificate. So this is for those that already come to us with their master's and they want to add on to their portfolio, or, you know, I'm working with a specific type of student in this classroom or, you know, in this agency, and now I don't have those strategies. So it's like, I'm working with this population. So this is a 21 credit advanced graduate certificate. Some of the courses have to do with behavior change, functional behavior assessment, analysis and interventions for this population. It basically takes 4 semesters to complete the program, and there are plenty of job openings for those that have this certification. There is an exam that you sit to become a behavior analyst. So this program, whether it's the AGC or the MA, prepares you to sit for that exam. And there are practicum hours that you have to be supervised to fulfill the coursework.
Thank you, Renee. Now we're going to segue into the Give Me 5 for the reading program. So Paula, take it away.
All right, I'm excited to talk about our MA in reading. It is actually a 3-in-1 program. So you get the MA in reading, the graduate certificate in dyslexia is included in the coursework, so you automatically would get that. And you also get the classes you need to become certified as a reading specialist by DESI. If you already have a master's, you would probably qualify for our sequential MA in reading. And that's usually 21 to 24 credit hours, depending on what type of classes you need for certification. And let's see, if you need the full MA in reading, that's 33 credit hours. I'm also very happy to tell you it is what we call synchronous online. So we meet using Zoom. That was a good byproduct of COVID. We learned how to use Zoom. So you can have a glass of wine or a margarita or just a cup of coffee, put your feet up and join us one night a week. Each class, most of the classes are 8 weeks long. And we are the only program currently accredited by the International Dyslexia Association and the Center for Effective Reading Instruction. So IDA and CIRI has given us that accreditation for both the MA in reading and the graduate certificate in dyslexia. And we are recognized by the International Literacy Association. Because we want you to be prepared to both diagnose and design appropriate interventions for struggling readers. We all reading instructors are letters trained. And if you've heard of letters, let's see, Renee always has to help me with this. Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. I got it. And that is being recommended by DESI for all universities and colleges that prepare teachers for classrooms, as well as they're sending, they're asking teachers to go and take the training. We already have that training and it's embedded into our classes. Let's see. And we support structured literacy and the science of reading. So that's sort of the foundation of what we are teaching you. When you are all done, and Karen will talk about this a little bit more, you can also, because of our accreditation, apply to CIRI, the Center for Effective Reading Instruction, and take their K-PERI test. And you can become a certified, structured literacy dyslexia interventionist. So you can get certification for that. This allows our graduates to do a lot of work in a variety of settings. So working for private companies that provide support for struggling readers, or working as your own. Help me out, Karen, speak up.
Well, this is recognized by the International Dyslexia Association. So it's an international certification. So you can use this once you achieve this, you go into their database for tutoring. So you're in their national database. So people find me. I don't seek out people, they find me because I have this certification. And Webster is the only school in the state of Missouri that has this accreditation from IDA. So it's huge, huge, huge. And it just opens up a lot of doors. No one will ever doubt your competency when you have these certifications behind your name.
Thank you. Okay. So, and then if we go on to the graduate certificate in dyslexia as a standalone, if you just want those 6 classes, you can get those over the fall, summer, and spring. We start in the fall. There's a fall 1, fall 2, spring 1. The practicum that's connected with that runs for the whole spring. And then in the summer, there are 2 classes. So that would give you your 6 classes or 18 credit hours. Our focus is on what dyslexia is, how to identify it, how to provide intervention. But I think that's also important because there are more reasons for struggling readers. So knowing exactly what dyslexia is helps you to differentiate who has it and who doesn't have it, or who has a mix of dyslexia and other problems. It's accredited. And I guess that's it. That's it, Stephanie.
Thank you. All right. So now we're on to the best part. And I'm going to go through this slide a little bit, but then I'm going to stop sharing because I just want everybody to see the faces of these wonderful human beings who have joined us today as they talk to us about their experiences in the program. So we are so fortunate to have 4 of them with us: Colleen Mooney, Kathleen Beerhorst, Katie Phillips, and Karen Karsten. And so they're going to kind of discuss their experiences. I'm going to stop share a minute so we can see them. All righty. And we're going to start with Colleen. And there are 2 questions they're going to be working us through. The first is just describe your experience in our programs in 3 words. And then the second one is tell us how your experience in the program really helps you now in your current career and what you do. And then that means you'll have to tell us what you do for a living. So Colleen, take it away.
So thorough and life-changing would be my 3 words. I guess that's 4 to describe my experience. And for me, my journey was a little bit different because it has helped me on a personal and professional basis. A little bit about myself is I am, my undergrad was in elementary education. I taught 5th grade in the Rockwood School District for several years, and then never saw myself as a SPED person in a million years, never. When I was teaching, and this was a long time ago, I had my classroom and then there were the resource kids and everything was separate and they did their thing. I did my thing. Fast forward a few years, I have 4 children and my youngest son was born with a rare genetic disorder called Soto syndrome. And before his first birthday, I realized that I know nothing about special education and he was going to need a lot of support with special education, and I needed to know what I was talking about. So I really joined Webster and getting my master's degree with the purpose of helping him in his education and kind of navigating the special education system. While I was at Webster, my experience was absolutely amazing and eye-opening. Learning about inclusion, especially, really changed my focus on my career and my child and what I wanted for him. And when I was in a class on inclusion, we had a guest speaker named Tony Armitage, who is the founder and director of a nonprofit called One Classroom. And One Classroom helps support children with disabilities in Catholic schools in the St. Louis area. My 3 older children were in Catholic school and they had a great experience, but I also knew that Catholic schools do not have a reputation of helping children with special needs. So I connected with Tony Armitage and eventually got hired as the director of programming for One Classroom. So I help advocate for children and for families to get them into Catholic schools. And then I also help train teachers and principals and learning consultants and paraprofessionals professionals, and give them the tools that they need to support children with disabilities in the classroom. And that involves a lot of changes systemically, and the Catholic school landscape is hopefully slowly changing. We're pushing that boulder up the hill, but we are now in 12 schools in the St. Louis Archdiocese and support 7 more with professional development and know-how. And we have almost 40 children with Down syndrome, autism, various types of disabilities that we help support with grant money in the Catholic schools. So my Webster experience has not only helped me personally and my family, but we're making an impact in other areas of the community as well. So it's been great.
Thank you so much. All right, we're going to go to Kathleen Bierhorst, who is also an alum of our special education MA. And again, same questions. Describe your experience in 3 words, and then how does your experience help you in what you do now?
Hi, everyone. So my 3 words were enjoyable, collaborative, and thought-provoking. I've been a special education teacher for, this will be my 10th year. And my first, my first 8 years was a lot of just kind of getting everything together, and really, and I have special education needs as well. So me kind of thinking like, oh, I've been through it. I really want to help kids that are like me. And for the most part, it was pretty good the first 8 years. But then once I got to Webster, like it was just so much more in depth, and like finding out so many more things that I could do to not only support my students, but the general education teachers as well. So once I started with the program, that's kind of been where I've been leaning more in, is kind of helping assist the general education teachers. And that's where the Webster program has kind of prepared me for that. We've learned a lot of like the legality and the rights of people with disabilities. So kind of having that knowledge to kind of back up what I'm saying. Also the amount and practice of like research analysis we do during the program. So you really understand how to like kind of dissect these multi-page research studies and really understand the process of it. So then we can take those studies and bring them into the classroom and kind of put it in more simpler terms for teachers and principals and paraprofessionals that don't have the time to really analyze that information out for them. So it's really helped me be able to kind of advocate for my students more and advocate for their needs in the gen ed setting and the special ed setting, and really help the general education staff, so the principals and the teachers, understand like how to fully include our students with special needs.
Thank you so much. All right, now we're going to talk to Katie Phillips. She is a current student in our reading program. So same 2 questions, Katie.
Okay, my 3 words for the program were rigorous, personal, and empowering. I am currently a middle school ELA teacher, and I'm going into my 10th year, but I have quickly learned, as I've been a co-teacher with some special school district educators, that I knew nothing about how to meet the needs of my students who were reading, who were coming into 7th grade, reading at a 2nd grade reading level. My undergraduate coursework, although I loved it and I feel like, it has built me to be a pretty decent teacher, did not prepare me for a 7th grader who was a struggling reader. So I decided to hop into Webster. And it was really challenging as a middle school educator. A lot of vocabulary that I was learning. I had no idea how to teach a kid to read. And even when I'm sitting in these IEPs, they start with a whole battery of test results that meant nothing to me. It was like speaking a foreign language. I was getting a whole binder full of profile sheets, but none of these profile sheets truly reflected the children that were sitting in my room and the issues that they were having. But since starting my coursework at Webster, I have still sat in those IEPs and I've still received those profile sheets. But I was able to stick up for, I'm thinking of one specific student in mind. And I immediately got out of the meeting and texted Paula. I was just like, this meeting left me feeling so empowered. His IEP was, he does have ADHD also. But they were trying to write his IEP in a way that made it seem like his difficulties in reading were a result of his ADHD. And based on my experiences with this kiddo and the tests that they had provided the data for to even get him services, it was clear that that was not the case. And so I felt like with my knowledge from this program, I could speak up. And I had the background knowledge to advocate for him. So I left that meeting knowing that he was going to 8th grade with a piece of paperwork that truly reflected what was hard for him and how they were going to be able to help and support him in his next year, his last year of middle school, to get him ready for high school. So it helped me better understand my struggling readers, which helps me help them understand why reading is hard for them. And then it gives me the confidence to continue to fight for them when I don't feel like their needs are being met.
Thank you so much. You guys are like making my Saturday morning. I just, we're going to all just shut up and let the students talk, because again, their stories are the most powerful and the best part of all of this. So we have one more, Karen. Karen Karsten is an alum of our READ program. She also did her MAT in special education. So Karen, tell us about your 3 words and your experience.
Okay, yes, I'm that person that just couldn't get enough of Webster or Stephanie or Paula. So my 3 words are totally worth it. That's 3, totally worth it. My undergrad degree is in psychology. When I got my undergrad degree, I always knew that I wanted to be an early childhood education teacher. This was back in the early 90s, and the school that I attended didn't even offer early childhood education as a degree. You would think that I would have known that, but I didn't. So I got my degree in psychology, and I parlayed that into a 2-decade career in early childhood. I was a teacher, I was a director, I was part of an administrative team. In 2016, I decided that I was going to do a mid-career switch. And Webster was the only school I looked at, because in my mind, I associate Webster with education. And being a person in my 4th decade of life, I never wanted anyone to question whether or not I was up on the latest in teaching and I was really, really qualified. So I spent 3 years with Stephanie and got my MAT with that initial certification in special ed. I was hired before I even graduated by SSD. I took a job at a St. Louis County middle school. The position that I took was replacing a teacher who transferred out. She was a Wilson certified reading specialist. So she did a lot of reading. So here I am, and I'm a new special education teacher, and I stepped into that role, and I had good foundational skills. Webster prepared me for everything having to do with special ed. You can always tell Webster grads, we are kind of set a little bit apart from other people, if I may brag. But I knew within the first couple months of teaching that new job that I needed to know a lot more about reading. Like I just knew, I'm like, I'm going to be that person that reaches out to come back and get another master's. So I think that first year, which was 2019, so the year of COVID, as we all can fondly remember, I reached out to Paula in about January, and we talked about, my transcripts and what I had. And she gave me this big, beautiful printout of all the transfer credit that Webster would give me to go ahead and do this master's in reading. And I started the summer of 2020 online, and this was all new at that time. And was able to get my MA in reading and the dyslexia certificate in 1 calendar year. So I graduated in the summer of 21 with that master's. And it is the best decision I ever made, both of these degrees. totally worth the time, totally worth the money. I mean, it's not cheap, let's face it. But particularly that master's in reading has just opened up the world of science of reading to me, and really understanding how a brain learns to read, and how there are a lot of students who just aren't going to get it. They're just not going to pick up on it. And knowing how to evaluate students, figuring out where those glitches are, knowing how to implement effective instruction so that they can make progress has been very empowering for me too. And similar to what Katie said, I had 6th graders coming in reading at 2nd and 3rd grade. Because let's face it, not all elementary programs follow science of reading. And so these kids have fallen through the cracks in some cases. I work with students who have learning disabilities in reading on top of ADHD or on top of autism. So I kind of see the whole spectrum of students. I love it. I'm now going to dedicate the rest of my career to teaching reading. I did go on and get some other certifications in specific programs that have really helped me too, but it was the best decision that I ever made. And I really feel like I can change lives. And that's a pretty powerful thing. You know, you're not just going through the motions and making sure kids have a great day and have fond memories of school. You can change their lives with this knowledge that we get. So I feel very fortunate to have had that opportunity. And I'm a crier, so.
Thank you so much.